Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Unfiltered Perspectives. I'm Tara.
I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Leslie.
We are so glad you're here with us today. Today, we are talking about a topic that is at the core of many of our lives and hearts, partner relationships. Whether you are currently in a relationship, hoping to find one, or simply interested in understanding more about them, this episode is for you. Relationships bring us joy, comfort, and a sense of belonging. But as many of us know, maintaining a healthy, thriving partnership can sometimes be challenging. It's a journey that requires effort, understanding, and a whole lot of love. Even if you're not in a relationship right now, or if you're facing difficulties in your current one, the principles we'll discuss today, I hope, can offer valuable insight. So whether you're in a new relationship or have been with your partner for years, let's explore the foundations of a healthy relationship, how to navigate challenges, and ways to strengthen bonds. Our goal is to help build stronger, more fulfilling connections for everyone. Remember, at Unfiltered Perspectives, real talk leads to real growth, and every perspective is valued.
Thank you, Tara, for that introduction to this topic. Not much to say. Let's get into it.
All right.
Who wants to get started today?
I guess I will. I guess to start, I'll just be quite candid, quite vulnerable here. I have been with my husband for 33 years. Obviously, we started out dating. I guess we started out dating 33 years ago. We've been married for 26 years. And as wonderful as our relationship is, I'm not going to lie, there have been some challenges, especially early on. When we first started, we were very young. We were 18 years old, such a long time ago. We were 18 years old. And for one, I'll admit I was very immature. And when we'd have disagreements or arguments, my instinct was to just walk away, physically just like, you know what, I don't feel like dealing with this. I would just turn tail and leave. I would just, because he may disagree with me here, but I am not one for conflict. I would rather just be quiet and just, you do you, and I'm going to do me. And if that's together, great. If not, okay.
Mm.
All right. But again, I said at 18, I was really immature. And over time, I came to understand that if you want a healthy relationship, that is really not a good way to go about things. Because what you need to do, what I found I needed to do, is communicate. I think that is key. And I think that's the key to any healthy relationship, and not to just be so willing to give up, not to be so willing to just throw my hands in the air and say, you know what, I don't have to deal with this. Because if you want to be with this person, if this is your person, then you have to work through it. You have to confront things. You have to be willing to address issues that are challenging, address issues that are not always comfortable, and just grow into it. Because I think that in any relationship, and I think Kim mentioned this one time before, in a relationship, as individuals, we grow, and we can either choose to grow individually, which we're always doing, but we can also choose to grow apart or together. And we chose to grow together.
Okay. So, confession time. After the introduction into this topic, I threw the ball back to you guys' court because this is not a topic that I wanted to start first, mainly because I guess I just don't know how much I want to share. I'm not one that's really concerned with being vulnerable when we come on and do these topics. However, this one in particular is a little bit challenging for me. Tara, you said something about that you guys have 33 years, and you said something about not throwing in the towel and, choosing to grow together. And relationships are a challenge. Absolutely. They are work. When you have someone that is, I won't say not a communicator because we all communicate differently. When you have someone that is not communicating in the way that you need, how do you fix that? And if you feel like the cycle is just repeating itself and it really is maybe just a communication issue, and I guess this is really just not needing you to answer it, but you get to a place where when is enough enough? When, when do you say, okay, we've grown apart or this isn't working? I feel like in a marriage, it's different because when you say for better or worse, you better know what you're saying, for better or worse. But when you're not married, should you fight differently? Should it still not be for better or worse if marriage is the goal? When is enough enough?
I mean, I wonder about that question as, is that a rhetorical question or is that like a real question for us? Like, where do you have red
Yeah,
lines?
yeah,
Where,
you can
yeah.
find, but I don't guess it's a real question because my enough may not be your enough.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So chime in though. Chime in.
No, I'm wondering aloud because I think one of the things that matters is communication style, right? And so I think I hear both of you saying, well, what if this person isn't communicating in the way that I want them to, right? Or acting in the way that, well, maybe I don't hear both of you saying that. Communicating. So I think for me, one of the things that's important is, again, I keep returning to this idea of the platinum rule, right? Of like trying to understand what it is that the other person needs, but also really understanding how it is that the other person communicates, which also I'm like would imagine that your partner is making that same effort, right? To see not only your own perspective, but to be able to take a step back and to see the other person's perspective. And here's where I think I'm thinking about a little bit about what you said, Tara, about your, or at least your communication style 30 years ago, right? That you would walk away. Gosh, I completely lost my train. I just completely lost my train of thought.
I'll pick up there. Maybe it'll come back to you. When I say I would walk away, I mean I would literally walk away or run away. Like, and I don't know. He may not want me to say this, and people may not want to hear this, but when we were living in I remember during law school we were living in Boston, and sometimes I would just get mad, and I just like leave and hop on the T and not care where I went, didn't care what time of day or night it was. I just ride. And in my immature state, I don't think I was necessarily thinking, I'm going to cool off right now and go back and see, and have this talk that we need to have. I was more thinking about, well, maybe if something happens to me, that'll learn them. That is where I was at that time. That is where I was. So it wasn't even about thinking about, I need to take this space for myself, give him his space so that when we come back together, we have cooler heads. It was more about punishing,
Mhm.
Mm.
punishing.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah, we
I,
relate.
yeah, I'm not there now. I'm not there anymore, which is good because I have
Mhm.
decades of maturity under my belt, decades of being with this man and understanding how he works and how we work well together.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And that's the thing too. You consider your ages at the time, and I compare it to the age that I am now and the age that this other person is now, and you're more set in your ways. Is it right to expect someone in our age bracket, and if y'all don't know what that is, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I threw numbers out. They can do math, I hope.
Yeah. If you're someone that's in my age bracket and or above, and they're set in their ways, is it realistic to expect them to change? Because when you're in a relationship, I think that you do have to make some changes. You do have to make some sacrifices if the relationship is that important to you. As far as the communication, when you talked about you leaving, I deal with that from this other person, and their thing is they do it to cool off. They do it to gather their thoughts. They do it because I'm, as they say, so sensitive and so emotional. They don't want to say the wrong thing. And I'm a person that I don't need you to walk away. I need to address it in that moment. Are either one of us wrong? No, it's just how we deal with the situation. I want to confront it right then, and they don't. And so that creates a bigger problem. I don't know at this age, one, if I would ever want to start anything over, because Tara, you talk about it, whether you're in a relationship or you're starting one or looking for one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do this again. I don't want to do this. I promise you all, I do not want to do this over. But our communication styles are so very different that it is exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
It's,
mean, I hear you, Tara, saying that you are attributing your communication to immaturity. I'm going to take your word for it on that. But I also wonder if it's immaturity laid over like some kind of instinct. I mean, most of us, when we're like in some kind of confrontation, there's like four responses that we have, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
fight or flight or freeze, or there's a fourth one, fawn, right? Where you just want to placate and like make nice and make the other person comfortable. So I hear you saying that your flight was immaturity, but it also may have been, right? That that's like an instinctual response. And if I don't know that that's an instinctual response for you, when you like get up and leave, I'm like, well, we're done. Right. But I think knowing, right, that, okay, she's going to flight, she's going to, so I think it's two things. I think it's one, it's knowing that she's going to fly, flee, and cool off and then
Mhm.
come back and we're going to re-engage. I think makes it easier to figure out what's going on with that flight. But I think also it's like the trusting that there is a commitment to the relationship
Yep.
that you're
Mhm.
going to come back, which I don't think is about age, right? I don't know if I would say somebody is too old to change. I think it really is about a person's level of commitment to a relationship and whether or not they are willing to
Willingness.
compromise and willing to stay in it,
Mm-hmm.
even
Mhm.
through conflict, even through differences. I mean, we all have a way that we like, right? That like instinctual way that we respond. But then presumably, we are rational beings and we don't operate only on instinct.
Right.
Right? We get past the instinct.
Yeah. Well, I hear what you're saying about those four responses, and perhaps there was some level of instinct, but in my particular case, I really don't think so because it was quite premeditated. Honestly, it was. My goal was not to like, as I said, it wasn't like I have to get away. My goal was I'm going to leave because I want him to understand how upset I am. I want him to understand that I don't even want to share this space. I want him to understand that if something happens to me, if something happens, it's because of what we just argued about right here, or what you just annoyed me about. So that it was, I can't put a pretty face on this.
Yeah.
I just can't. But something else that you said is really key too. We talked about communication, but trust is also a very key part of this because if somebody if when you have a disagreement or a challenge and your partner's response is always to leave or to, something that nature to remove themselves from your presence or to separate, then you don't have a chance, I think, to build up that level of trust and security in a relationship if you know or you feel that that person is always willing to walk out that door.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're always willing to, just put a cap on it and let that be it. So, and that's a hard thing, I think, to get past.
Yeah, that whole thing about walking away to cool off, along with what Kim said about trust. At what point, if we're not communicating effectively, at what point am I supposed to know when that walk is really a walk and I'm going
Mhm.
to try to return to this thing that we're committed to? Every time you do that, I think makes the situation worse. One of these times, just like I'm going through something emotionally and I'm wondering when enough is enough, I would have to assume that you're having the same thoughts. When is enough enough? And when you walk off and I'm thinking you're going to cool off, but this time you don't return, I don't know that. Why? Because we're not communicating effectively.
Mhm.
So in the relationship, I'm guarded, waiting for, as I've said, we've had so many times, waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's no way to be in a relationship because we can say it a million times, it's going to always be true. Communication is so key.
Yeah. I think that that question, at what point do you realize it? And I think that point is when you say, you can't keep leaving. You can't keep walking away from me because that doesn't work for me. And so once you've had that conversation and you say, you can't keep doing this. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to us. It's not fair. Then if they keep doing it, if they do it again, then that's your answer.
Yeah. And
That's your answer.
I've been accused by friends in the past telling me that I'm bossy. You both make one is making a face and the other one's nodding.
Oh, I have no experience of you as being bossy.
Bossy. I wouldn't call it being bossy. When you're trying to address a serious situation and kind of demanding that, no, we need to address this now. It doesn't need to linger because that is what happens. It gets swept under the rug. And you think that it's over because I'm silent. No, I'm silent because I'm angry. I'm silent because I'm angry. I don't like being hushed because that's what I feel like. We're not addressing this right now. And to me, that says this isn't important, or you don't get to tell me every single time when we're going to address a situation. Who gives you the right to say we're going to do this now or we're going to do this later? We have to come to some type of agreement as to when we handle certain things, and you don't always get to say when.
I mean, the way that I think about it, which again, I will say, as a person who is not in a long-term relationship, I really think a lot of it from my own perspective. And again, so maybe this is where the too old part comes in. I am too old or too busy or too whatever to be spending a lot of my time trying to figure out what the other person's going to do or really trying to control what the other person is going to do. And so you can actually behave however you want. And it's up to me to decide if this is what I'm going to put up with. I'm not interested in being in a relationship where I have to tiptoe or wait for the other shoe to drop. And
Mhm.
so I understand needing to walk away, to cool down, if I can trust that you are going to come back and that we're going to have a conversation. But what if what I actually can trust, because if what I have seen over and over again is that you just walk away, you're telling me what is it? Is it the Maya Angelou quote? Something about people will believe what you show them, or I'm gonna at some point gonna have to trust what you show me.
If
And if
people
what
if,
you show me over and over again
if
is that
people
you are going to walk away.
is that it? When people show you who they are, believe them or something
That's
similar.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing too is when we've had disagreements in the past, and in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this was so bad, it's the end. And his thing is, every disagreement is not a breakup, And I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, okay, I get it. But it's interesting because our three perspectives, Tara's in a long-term married relationship. I'm in a relationship, unmarried, and Kim is not in a relationship. So, it's an interesting conversation from three different perspectives right now.
Yeah, but what I will say is that when I used to do that walking away thing, that was before we were married because we had a conversation before we got married. He's like, when you get mad, you can't just walk away. You can't do that anymore. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm. Let's see. So, as a person that's been in a relationship for quite a while, and marriage was the goal for this year, as disappointing as it may be at times, I'm so thankful that it did not happen when it was supposed to happen, or it's not going to happen when we initially said it would happen, because so much has changed. And it goes back to that for better or worse. Honestly, I haven't, we haven't stood before God and made a commitment. I haven't said for better or worse. I know it sounds terrible. I don't have to be committed to this. Whereas had we said the I do's and these things were going on that I've been a part of for just the past, I don't know, several months, strangely enough, after being together for so long. Once you say I do, I feel like you have a bigger commitment, a bigger obligation to stay. So I'm glad the things that I'm being faced with right now, as uncomfortable as they are, I'm glad it's happening now rather than later, because I can still choose to not stay in it, as can he. So I'm grateful for, as unpleasant and uncomfortable as they are, they're surfacing now as opposed to later.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of couples having some kind of counseling, and it doesn't have to be extensive, before getting married. I mean, really, I'm a big proponent of couples having lots of conversations about what their life together will be like before getting married. But especially, at least that one conversation, I won't marry a couple unless having that kind of a conversation with them. I had a conversation with one couple, the very first wedding that I was going to perform, that I actually ended up not performing because I asked the couple that was older, why do you want to get married? And the groom said to me, I think he may have said that it was a dumb question, but he certainly communicated that in his response. His response was something along the lines of, same reason anybody wants to get married. And so we talked for a little bit longer, I with the couple, and then they let me know a week later that they had decided to go another direction. I don't know if that meant they had decided to not get married to each other, or if they had decided to not have me officiate their wedding.
Oh, okay. Well, I just got excited, Kim, because if the listeners don't know, Kim is my niece, and I just totally separated. I guess, I just realized that you can literally marry me if it ever happens. So there you go.
One of
But
my favorite things to do.
is it really?
Yes.
Wow.
Marriages and child dedications.
Yeah, I won't be doing those. So I'm gonna keep you locked in for the
Never
marriage.
say never.
Ooh, God can work miracles, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pass on that. Uh, but yeah, it's hard. It's challenging. It's how much how much work is just too much. Is there such a, I don't know.
See, I don't think that if two people want to be together and if they know that in order to do this, you do have to put in the work.
Mhm.
Relationships are work. And so I don't think there is a too much work when both parties are willing to do it.
But I also don't know if they necessarily have to be sacrificed. Compromise, definitely, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But I think when compromise turns into sacrifice, I don't know. I might worry.
Yeah, I never said sacrifice because I agree that like
I think
I
I
don't
think
think sacrifice should have a place in a respectful, trusting, communicative relationship.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think I used the word sacrifice, but no, I can't say there may not be things that come up where you may have to make small sacrifices. So I'm not saying that that's never going to be the case or should be the case, but
Mhm.
definitely compromises. And one thing that I've been bringing to my significant other's attention is that you can no longer think for just you. He swears he doesn't. I disagree. Actions speak louder than words. I know your intentions are good, but I know that your age and your upbringing, all of that is playing a factor. And I'm trying to be patient and understanding. But everything that I do for our future, I don't just think about myself.
Mhm.
Can't just think about yourself. And it's my opinion that I believe he still thinks for himself. And I could be wrong. I'm sure he'll disagree, but that's just what I see. Tara, it's interesting. I'm gonna get to you because I know you burst in to say something.
I so
And
am.
no, you are. Kim is talking about counseling, and Tara, you mentioned that to me too. And although I'm challenged, and listeners, please, I am all for counseling and therapy. I'm all for it. I personally had a not so pleasant experience with one individual. So please know that I'm all for it. I just have to work my way into that whole counseling space. I was quite surprised when he said to me, is there someone that we can talk to? And because I think that he, I don't want to say lacks communication skills, but for me, I thought the communication was a challenge. And so when you come to me and you make a suggestion like that, I go, okay, he's still in this. He's still looking for ways to make this work, but it hasn't happened yet. And I'll keep you listeners informed since y'all all up in my business now. What do you want to say, Tara?
You mentioned how when you think and you act, you do it for the team, sort of, your togetherness, and you believe that he doesn't do it. He's thinking about himself. And based on conversation, I'm going to say that I don't necessarily agree with that.
You disagreeing. I just made up a word. You disagreeing with me?
You
You're
know,
not out.
because I think that you are looking at his actions through the lens of how you want them done, how you would interpret it, how you think things should be. And just because you want it that way does not mean that that's the way it is. Just because you put this particular spin on his actions doesn't mean that that's his motivation. In fact, when he tells you that it's not, and you insist on reading that it is because just because that's the way you see it, that might be problematic for him as well.
It's just one of those times, Tara, when you are telling the truth in love.
It is. It definitely is. It definitely is. This is what she does. And I can appreciate it because, yes, woo, she should send me a bill because we have talked extensively. And like I said in previous episodes, she has no problem coming for me like she just did.
I
No,
didn't, but
I'm
I'm just gonna say, I'm always gonna be team
you,
you,
you
but
yeah, yeah.
but I'm
You know,
gonna tell you when I think you're wrong.
once you say but, just it kind of just negates everything that you said before that. So feed
No,
me.
okay. However, instead of but, however.
No, I get it. I get it. I'm a work in progress, but in a relationship, we have to work together.
You
We have
do.
together. So to be continued.
And that may be your work to do, right? Because regardless of whether or not your partner is actually thinking about the relationship, not just yourself as an individual, you have to actually trust that that's true.
Mhm.
You have to trust that that's true, that you are both in it together.
Mhm. Look at that face. She's like, yeah, well, I don't, obviously, I just told you I don't trust that. And now we
Hey,
are.
there you go. Well, then you probably aren't ready to get married.
Right. What'd you say?
And then, I mean, if you don't trust that person is that you're both in it together, then you probably aren't ready to be married, right?
Yes. Not this week. But anyway, I'm laughing because when you both said look at her face, I felt like my mother in that moment. Y'all know when she puts this finger
Mhm.
up here. Viewers, I mean, listeners obviously can't see it, but it was just kind of like, I'm listening. But no, I hear you. And like I said, I'm a work in progress. We all are. And so, we'll see what happens. If not, we'll turn this one of these podcasts into a dating episode.
Oh my. But
Oh my. Can I just say, I know, I would say personally, I would not want to be married to a person who didn't trust that I had their best interest at heart and who didn't trust that I saw us as a team.
And the thing about this is this couple of things, which, Tara, you know a lot about me as I'm talking. I deal with a lot of insecurity. So that is hurting us. He has made compromises, and Tara, he has made sacrifices as well. And so I try not to forget those things and try to look at where maybe I don't want to say the problem, but for lack of a better term, I'm the problem. How much patience am I supposed to have? And I guess relationships don't stop being work. They don't stop being work. It's not like one day you wake up and we've finally arrived as a couple. No, it's just some new stuff that you're going to face today. It's just some new stuff. You don't stop working at the relationship. So,
no, you don't.
and I was joking about the dating episode because I won't ever do this again.
When I was trying to when I was trying to break up with my therapist, I kept saying for like weeks, I'm fixed, I'm cured, and she just kept laughing at me. I am actually done with that. And also, I am still a piece of work that requires a lot of maintenance. So I'm still having to work on myself all the time.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm not alone out here.
You've already said it. We are all a work in progress. As perfect as I think I am. Kidding, I'm not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, we know I'm not. Yeah, I still have a lot of work. Just ask us. And I say that jokingly, but I know that there are still some things, as much as I think our relationship is fantastic, and I'm pretty sure he does too. But I know that there are still some things that I could do better, some things that he can do better, some things that we can do better together and as individuals. And it is always going to be work, not hard work. It's not always hard work. Sometimes it's fun work, but it's why are you making that face, Kim? Stop. That's not what I meant.
Listen, you do whatever you do.
But
Work.
I'm just
Work,
saying,
girl, work.
I'm just saying that we are all constantly evolving and new challenges pop up every day. I feel like this conversation should be continued. I don't know if you guys feel that same way, because I feel like there's some things we didn't cover, and I know our time is running short. But
I'm
before
open
we,
to a part two.
okay. So
Shouldn't you be joining us on part two?
I'm sorry.
Will your husband be joining us on part two?
I don't think so. I hope he's still my husband after he listens to this. Like, don't put personal business out there. But
Well,
whatever. I'm kidding. It's not a whatever, because that's a lack of respect. And he should be able to trust that when I communicate, I am not betraying anything, too personal.
I
But I
hope I
wanted
didn't
to.
put too much out there. I didn't put too much out there. Oh,
No,
wow.
no, of course
Oh,
not.
hates it.
No.
Well, he probably won't listen to it anyway. So,
Aw. But can I just say, guys, that as we talk about these strong relationships, or lack thereof, I think that it's important to remember the timeless wisdom that can guide us. And you all know what I think that is. One of the most beautiful, I think, and profound descriptions of love and relationships comes from the Bible. Specifically, I'm talking about 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4-7. And this passage reminds us that love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. For me, I think that these words are a blueprint for how we should treat our partners and approach our relationship. And so I hope that, well, at least for my part, I want to strive to embody this kind of love in my relationship and to support and uplift my partner, my husband, through every season of life that we face together. And so by doing that, I hope that we can, not just that we've created, but am able to rest on this foundation of mutual respect, of trust, and of.
Beautifully said. Thank you. Such an inspiration.
I can't tell. You're being sarcastic. Fine.
No, I'm not being sarcastic at all. Seriously. No, even at my age, you look at, although I'm not around you to see how you operate or how the two of you operate together in a marriage, I can't say that I've had so many great examples to see. It's one thing for someone to come and say, "Oh, we're great with this," but I haven't seen a great example, or I haven't seen very many of great marriage. So maybe there's hope for me yet.
There is, of course. There's always hope.
Before I have to roll down the aisle in a wheelchair holding oxygen.
Listen, even then, as long as you're above ground, there you go.
It has been. Listen, if you need somebody, come to the home, to the rec room where you two are, to make it legal.
Wow. Marry us in a nursing home.
After you had that counseling.
Oh, geez, the counseling. Yeah.
And obviously don't say, when she asks you, why do you want to get married? Don't say, why would anybody want to get married? You got to have your reasons.
Tara, we'll come to you for the life coaching, and then we'll just scoot over to Kim for the ceremony. I feel like this episode was so much about me. I don't know how comfortable I am with that, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Put your business out in the street.
Just not the streets.
The streets, lady, the streets.
Not the streets.
Out in these internet streets.
But this was good. We definitely need to continue with this.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all for today's episode of Unfiltered Perspectives. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the dynamics of partner relationships. And we're only partway through it. So join us next week. We have covered a lot of ground, but there is still more ground to cover. Remember that building a strong relationship is an ongoing process. It requires patience. It requires effort and a willingness to grow, both individually and together. And I think the beautiful thing about relationships is that they offer us a chance to continually learn and evolve alongside someone that we love. So even if you're not currently in a relationship or if you're facing difficulties, hopefully what we're talking about in this episode and these principles will still be valuable to you, because I think that they can help build better connections in all areas of life and to prepare us for future relationships. So thank you again for being with us. We hope that you found today's episode helpful and inspiring. Please share it with a friend and be sure to tune in for a new episode every Thursday morning. Don't forget to leave a review and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
We would love to hear from you and to take your questions. If you have a question that you would like for us to address in the podcast, send it to or comment Unfiltered Perspectives at outlook.com. And please let us know if you'd like us to use your name.
Okay. I'm Tara.
I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Leslie. We'll meet you here next time.